another Solid Gold podcast.
And it's once again a very warm Saffers welcome to sapeople.com with me, Melanie Walker, and Jenny Baxter over in Antibes.
How's it, Mal?
A cool day again today.
Yeah, it's actually beautiful. I must take this off, but it's too late now.
Okay, well, it's never too late to have a happy childhood, you know.
Yeah, that we're doing.
So what has been happening in the world of sapeople.com this week?
Well, I think that the person who has had the most attention this week is the wonderful Trevor Noah. He's so excited to be back home. He's just been signed with Prime Video for their very first South African original, which is it's a show that's been all around the world in all different countries, and now it's coming to SA, called LOL, Last One Laughing. That's what. Last One Laughing. And so what it is that Trevor will be the host, and there'll be 10 top South African comedians who have to, sorry, I just had a cat. 10 South African comedians who one bite at a time like an elephant. They are pitted against each other, and they have to, the way to lose is to laugh at your fellow comedian. So each comedian tries to be as funny as they can, because as soon as somebody else laughs, that person loses. And whoever wins gets to donate 1 million rand to the charity of their choice. So it's all around really great. So Trevor's hosting that. He's so excited to be back. He's so excited to be getting back in touch with his South African audience, the people that he's grown up with. And on top of that, since his roots are both Swiss and South African, since his father is Swiss, just like with Roger Federer, tennis legend, who's got a Swiss father and a South African mother, the two of them have teamed up to promote Switzerland. And that's getting launched tomorrow on YouTube. It's a movie called The Greatest Ride, something like that. The Ride of a Lifetime. And yeah, so look out for it. Roger already teamed up with Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway for similar, really funny promoting Switzerland kind of videos. So
I can say one word in Swiss German. Hochecashle.
Oh my goodness, that's a long word.
Kitchen cupboards.
Kitchen cupboards.
I have one word.
That's so useful.
I know. What would one do without it? I ask you with tears in my eyes. Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff which is coming up. And I mean, I'm sure that, is Trevor going to be doing like any tour dates while he's out here?
Hey, he is. He's going to be in South Africa, I think like September-ish. Mm-hmm. We've got it on sapeople.com, all his tour dates. He's actually just announced another French date because he just added France to his tour, and within 24 hours it was sold out. So he's added another one. So it's brilliant. He's going to be in various countries around the world. The Australians are begging him, but he hasn't added Australia yet. But yeah. So I think it's a great year for Trevor. I mean, what he did in America was incredible, being on The Daily Show. But I think he's so, it's like somebody who goes and works for a corporate for a while, and then you go back to freelancing, and it's just that freedom to just be yourself. So I think it's a very excited Trevor who's come back to South African shores.
Well, my one daughter will be very, very happy because she absolutely adores Trevor. I mean, she's just completely mad about him. Okay, so what news do you have for expats?
That they really should be flying to Cape Town right now if they live in the UK, and basically if they live anywhere outside of South Africa, because basically with the rand and the pound, Cape Town has become 7.5% cheaper than it was a year ago for travelers from England, which is really cool for them, not cool for the people in South Africa, but cool for travelers to South Africa. It's basically the UK Post Office does this annual research every year, and they compare the prices of a beer, a glass of wine, a three-course meal, insect repellent, sunscreen, the kind of things that every traveler is going to buy wherever they go. And Cape Town came out the cheapest. And actually, one of the Egypt was in the top 4, and New Zealand was in the top 4 for people from the UK. Yeah, New Zealand. And so, like in Cape Town, you can have a three-course meal for £35, whereas in Iceland, that same meal will cost you £135.
Okay, I won't be going to Iceland anytime soon. It sounds like it's prohibitive.
Or
But
take your own food. Take some pad course.
yeah, I'm thinking that, with the state of things in England at the moment, I mean, even in France, I mean, what is going on in France at the moment? Like with all of these strikes everywhere and fires. I mean,
Burning.
I just love that one video of that couple sitting and having a meal somewhere in the streets of, I think, Paris. And there's like this big fire happening in the background and they're just sitting and drinking.
I think they were in Bordeaux. But because Bordeaux is where they actually tried to burn one of the city buildings where King Charles was going to be going. But of course the authorities put it out immediately. But yeah, it's really interesting. I've got 2 daughters in Paris, and and the one is so pro the protesters, and the other one is so like, come on, get on with it, So it is a country divided, and even a family divided, just like in South Africa. You've all got different opinions, and I just hope it all gets resolved nicely. And it's not as bad as it looks on TV, because, there'll be one street where there's a fire, but as you saw, the people continue eating. It's not raging out of control, Yeah, yeah.
The thing for me is that also, like in England, I mean, just the power issues that they're having as well. I mean, I was watching Graham Norton, and he was also talking about, it's okay, we don't have electricity. And I'm sitting and thinking, oh gosh, it's not just us.
Yeah. But what do you mean? I don't have any English friends who've run out of electricity.
Some places, I mean, there is an issue with power supply. I don't know. I can't remember what it was. That kind of hit home for me. And then, of course, the fact that we may not have electricity, but we have tomatoes. Although we're
Oh, yes, you said.
no tomatoes anymore. So,
Yeah.
oh, well. Okay, so, yeah, Cape Town. Although they're going into their rainy season now, so not the best time to go to visit the Cape. We've had, like, the weirdest weather at this stage at the moment. I mean, it's been really kind of very wet and overcast and rainy and cold. So I can feel winter is coming.
And nice and cozy. So when you're driving, remember when I last visited South Africa, when I was in Johannesburg, it was really dry. Like we were driving along, not the Jan Smuts Avenue, I think, and there was just like dust on the side, like there wasn't grass, it was dust. Is it now very green and beautiful?
Yeah, everything's still very green, but I mean, once we get into winter, obviously in Johannesburg specifically, and up on the Highveld, it becomes very grey and brown and dry and crackly.
Okay. Hey, I did see there was a wealth report recently, and because Cape Town's always featuring on everything, but Johannesburg featured. Out of the whole of Africa, Johannesburg has the most millionaires. I think over 14,000, the most millionaires in the whole of Africa, and I think Cape Town only came 3rd. So,
Millionaires as in cash in the bank, or in their assets?
oh, I don't know, Mel. I don't know, sorry.
Millionaires if people don't owe anything on their houses, and their houses are worth like 2 million. So then you're millionaires.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did see, yeah. I did also see that of the billionaires, I think there's only 3,000 and something, and this is not rand billionaires, this is dollar billionaires. Out of the whole world, there's just over 3,000, of which almost 1,000 are in China, and 5 are in South Africa or are South African.
Why don't they just adopt me? Come on, I'm lovely.
Or just give one of their billion to you and your nearest and dearest.
Need that much? Just need a new car, and to fix a hole in my roof. and then I think I'm okay. So I'm a bear of little brain and a person of little needs. That's the way to go.
Oh,
Okay, so
that's
now
beautiful.
one thing I see you've got here, the
Yes.
UNESCO Atlas of World Languages, Afrikaans is potentially vulnerable. And I was quite glad to see that there was that court ruling that overturned the thing that was happening, I think, at Marties, at Stellenbosch University, where
Mm.
they were trying to outlaw Afrikaans. And I'm sitting and thinking, well, just because Charlize said that only 40, however many people actually speak Afrikaans, doesn't mean that there aren't a lot more people who actually have it as their first language. And in fact, I think it rates higher than a lot of the other languages in South Africa. So, I don't know why it's
Yeah.
potentially vulnerable, because ek praat mos Afrikaans en ek sal Afrikaans die hele tyd praat, want ek dink is 'n baie, baie lekker taal. Okay?
Oui. I um I think that Marty's thing is really awkward. I think that what happened initially is that people felt that they were being spoken about, just like some South African expats do when they're abroad. People felt like they were being spoken about in front of them in a language they didn't understand sometimes. And so they kind of said, and then that also was very unfair. They said, okay, no Afrikaans allowed, even amongst kids with their parents, speaking in campus, sitting on a bench. So you are right, it went out of control, and that has been overruled, and it went against human rights, actually. Yeah, but the bottom line is, and what I think that Charlize was trying to hint at, is that Afrikaans is challenged as a language by laws like that, And so what the UNESCO Atlas of World Languages is saying is, it's a tier system, and it goes down to endangered, and Afrikaans is nowhere near endangered. But, AfriForum said they are very glad to see that it has been recognized as a challenged language that is facing some challenges and needs support to get out of that vulnerable position, But there are some other... So basically all the governments in the world were asked to give information towards this atlas. The South African government did not. So now AfriForum has provided them with the information. And it's not just Afrikaans. There's some other official languages in South Africa that are facing vulnerability. So...
I was driving through to Clarence and hit a pothole, as one is wont to do in this country, wherever you go. And the guy that's sort of stopped to help us, one of the taxi drivers, I think I mentioned him in one of our previous podcasts, fully Afrikaans. I was like, hoekom praat jy Afrikaans? Nee, dis sy moedertaal. Hy praat mos Afrikaans, hy praat nie enige other language, basically.
Yeah.
So that was quite interesting. And God forfend, at least I hope some kind of logic prevails in Texas or Florida or wherever, where the parents have now gone on this mission that you're not allowed to have pictures of Michelangelo's David or Botticelli's Venus.
No.
I'm like, what? You've got people shooting each other in the classrooms, but goodness me, don't look at that picture.
Yeah, that's
it's
gross.
scary. I don't know what's going on in the world, but it's like, it's art, okay? Get a grip.
Yeah.
Everybody has one.
Well, and something else that they said this week as well is that, students are now being told all the time, trigger warning when you read this particular book, a classic, and there are all these trigger warnings, and they said that the trigger warnings are actually creating more of a problem because it's making all these students feel that they are so vulnerable, that they need to be warned, Yeah, so I don't know, hopefully, it's like a pendulum and it swings and things are going to go. Have you ever been into some of these art galleries from centuries ago? And they were so much more promiscuous and you just realize we go up and down, and yeah.
Well, I think we say it every week, just be lekker.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so what news have you got from expats? I'm sure that, we have so many amazing South Africans doing so many amazing things all over the world.
I think my best story this week is a really proudly South African guy, Dieter Islin, who has just been signed for the 4th time with Chicago Bears, playing for the NFL. Who's the NHL? I'm thinking of DHL. Yeah, National Football League.
It is
Oh,
NHL, which
okay.
is the National Hockey League, which is actually ice hockey, not like field hockey.
Oh, that's why. Well, he's the kind of guy who could have played anything. So he started off in Pretoria with rugby. He went to a rugby school in Stellenbosch, and then he kind of got distracted by weightlifting, and then he got distracted by NFL, watching it on TV, and he used to download and watch all these videos. And at the age of 16, he flew to America on his own, went to a football league, American football camp, just fell in love with the sport. He had never played it before, wrote to all these universities and said, please, I've never played before, but, and actually got a university. His coach said to him the one day, he was exhausted, and the coach said, you have to go to this camp right now. And he was like, I don't want to go. And he said he was so annoyed. He used a swear word, but he was so annoyed that he really played aggressively. And there was a coach from Yale who saw him and was so impressed that he signed him immediately. And yeah, so we've got a great story on Dieter and how he never aimed for the NFL. He just aimed to play at a university, and he's landed up, doing so well. Could have been a Springbok probably. He really believes you put your mind to something and hard work, and you will get there. And when he plays in these NFL games, he wears a US and a South African flag. And he says, I'm proudly doing this for South Africa. He's at the Sabi Sands at the moment. He's in South Africa on holiday. He's Afrikaans, so for him, the hardest thing about moving to America was having to speak English every day.
Well, he'll learn
But
it with an American accent like Charlize.
yeah, he has already. He has, yeah. He's been there about 8 years now.
Following in Nas Botha's footsteps as well, because of course Nas went to go and play for the Dallas Cowboys at some stage as well.
He did, but he didn't play for very long.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just remember when there was very little TV to be had back in the 80s in England. They used to have this wonderful compilation 1.5 hour show on a Sunday late afternoon on Channel 4, all to do with the national, with football, not soccer,
Really?
but American football. And I would watch that every single week. I really enjoyed it. It was quite...
Ah, you and Dieter.
Yeah, loved watching it. Okay, so what have we got that local good news? And I'm going to start off with local good news in the fact that for our podcast last week, we used a wonderful picture, which is a fantastic mural of the late Desmond Tutu, who, of course, the Arch, for me, was just like one of the best people on earth. I absolutely adored him.
Yeah, such a beautiful human. And it's such a beautiful story behind that mural. It's actually a New Zealand artist who, met a South African expat, I think, in Dubai, and then they moved back or somewhere in the Middle East, and then they moved to Hermanus. He is, in love with South Africa. And he was asked to do some artwork of Desmond Tutu on some bus stops, but he felt like Desmond Tutu deserved something even bigger than bus stops, and just a chance meeting, his car, his tire, had a flat tire or something, stopped at some little put stall and bumped into a church group, Full Moot, which Desmond Tutu used to be the patron for. And got chatting with them and said this idea of his. And before he knew it, they had organized Hermanus waterfront, this beautiful big wall. And it's going to be a destination piece where already it is. Already. I mean, the painting only finished a week ago. And already they had foreigners and locals coming and having their photos taken there because the painting is low enough that you can be standing almost next to Desmond Tutu. And it is a beautiful, very colorful mural, which apparently Desmond Tutu would have loved.
So well done there to Matthew Kearns.
Yeah.
We did credit him as the artist, which is lovely. I love it. It's just like such a nice, vibrant gorgeous picture, and I think it kind of really does capture the arch.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has his quote on it. His quote about, if you want peace, you need to be talking to your enemies.
Yeah.
If
Instead of
you want to
slagging them
change.
off all the time, which is still
Yes.
happening because, of course, we have now a new, I think, a mayor of another coalition in Tshwane. But now, of
Yes.
course, the EFF are already sitting there and saying, he's a this and he's a that and he's the other. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, can't we all just work together? Did people
Yeah.
not teach their children when they were in primary school or even preschool? You've got to be nice to people. And the nicer you are to people, the more you're going to get done.
Yeah.
So don't behave like the smelly stuff. Behave like lekker. There we go again. Okay, so now the Kruger, my one daughter's back up near that area again. So I'm very interested to
Oh, will she start sending us photos, please?
walks at the moment. She's learning, she's doing the grunt work, obviously, starting at the bottom, being an intern. But I mean, still getting the opportunity to see some. She saw wild dogs for the first time the other day. I was
Oh, I still remember the first time I saw wild dogs. Yeah, that's amazing. That's wonderful. Yeah, which is fantastic news, and that's TripAdvisor. So, TripAdvisor has so many users, and they look back over a year and they look at all the reviews, etc., etc. Plus, there is some editorial input, and so these are the places that people like to go for an outdoor holiday. And out of the whole world, the Kruger came in at number 20, but I was a bit surprised that it wasn't even higher up. Serengeti was at number 3. Mauritius was higher up. Oh, I can't remember, but it is in the article on SA People. Oh my goodness, who was it? Yeah,
have a look. I'll go along to the Facebook page and check it out. But I mean,
yeah,
it
yeah.
is like, I mean, some of the things that I do have on my bucket list, and I've always said there's only one thing on my bucket list. Of course, that's doing the longboat canal thing through France, which I'd love to do.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Then dancing the Argentine tango with Al Pacino at the foot of the Angel Falls in Venezuela, which is just a little bit out there. But I
Yeah,
do think
amazing.
that taking a hot air balloon ride over the Serengeti, because I have done it over near Sun City. What's that place called there? Helen Darber? No.
Oh, Palabora.
No, not Palabora. That's a town. What's it called? That area that
Oh, it starts with a P though, doesn't it?
we're just behaving like blondes today. It's all good. Everybody knows what we mean. There by Sun City in the northwest. That place. Okay, but one of the I see here that one of the top 5 places to go skinny dipping in South Africa is actually at one of my hangout haunts, which I always do when I go down to go and see the parents. Now my mom, but interestingly, the Mpunyati Nature Reserve, which is near Palm Beach. Okay, and I
Yes.
had a piece of property there so I could see the Mpunyati, and I go walking through there. Got great boardwalks.
And did you go skinny dipping?
I didn't go skinny dipping because I was always with my dad. A bit of a pod. But my dad is one of the people who's responsible for all the names on the trees in the Impanyati Nature Reserve, as well as at the Mtamvuna River Gorge walk as well. So he was the one who went to put
Beautiful.
all the little names up here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah,
So that's,
beautiful.
I mean, I just love that part of the South Coast, all the way down from kind of Ramsgate further down to Port Edward. It's just, there's so many amazing things there, so many amazing people.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful, and of course, some of the top blue flag beaches, and doesn't get sort of all that horrible, icky pollution in the water, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. And the water is actually warm enough to swim in all day and enjoy yourself
Well,
and not
I
come out
have to tell
frozen.
you, yeah, so I have walked along that section of the beach, and I told you about it when we were down there the last time.
Yeah.
So we always do specific walks, like we will walk from Trafalgar down to the Impanyati and back again. But I know exactly where the section is, where it has a little warning that says, "Be careful, you may see some naked people." And I have seen a naked person or two there, and you're not quite sure where to look, because I mean, it's a different thing if you go to Sandy Bay in Cape Town. I mean, everybody goes. It's not kind of one of these things where you're just taking your kids for a walk. It's a
Yeah.
destination point. Here, it's kind of a little bit more. Okay, it's a bit cold out there today, I see.
Oh, shame. Oh, no.
Sandy Bay must be one of them. And
It is. And Yonkers Hoek, Tweede Waterval in Stellenbosch. The Otter Trail, Tsitsikamma. And Sardinia Bay. Uh-huh. Yeah. So you could actually do a holiday of South Africa, going to those. Yeah. Send postcards back home.
so, for those of you who believe that the Americans are right in trying to ban having David's sculpture anywhere in your town, those are the places to avoid. Right. Okay, so from millionaires and billionaires to people who are doing good things to raise money for other people.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of good stories there of some people who are thinking about others.
Oh, I love them. I mean, Casper Nyovest is South Africa's biggest rap star, such a superstar, and he got together with Quentin van der Berg, a foundation. Quentin's also constantly, I mean, his foundation, if you can go online and follow them, they are always doing good stuff and uplifting people and listening to South African stories, and giving everyone a voice. Anyway, they went to Casper's old school where they didn't have fresh drinking water, and they've put in a borehole, which has now given drinking water to 47 teachers and 1,357 students, which is wonderful. It's so nice. It must be such a lovely feeling to go and help your old school. Okay? This is in the Northwest.
Why is it that individuals are having to do this when this is something that the government promised 20 odd years ago, that they were going to sort out things, and they haven't? They haven't organized, pit toilets, let's not even go there.
I feel like there was the Jacob Zuma detour, and as soon as everybody gets back on the highway, it'll be okay again. Yeah.
Where they start thinking about doing things for their people instead of just doing things for themselves or their party. I think then we'd be on the right track. At the moment, my heart bleeds for those poor parents of those kids. But now the fact is that we keep saying this week after week, that as South Africans, we need to come together. We need to go out and do it, because nobody else is going to do it. If you sit and wait for the government to do something, nothing will ever get done. And that's why, with the potholes, there are people who go out and fill up potholes. And they're doing it. And I'm not talking about the companies, I'm talking about individuals as well who have seen, there's a pothole, let me go and fill it. That's what I think is lekker. Okay.
Hey, but another thing that I also wonder about with these pit toilets is that the hole is so big, which is why children are, quite a few children actually have, at least 3 that I know of, have fallen in and drowned. And I know they want to replace them with real toilets, but the whole thing's taking so long. In the meantime, with Muslim people, so we've got it here in France, some of our normal toilets are being replaced with holes in the floor, but there's a covering so that the hole itself is very small. Even your leg wouldn't go down into it. So wouldn't that be a good idea if they could just get those covers?
Jen, they've had 20 odd years to sort this out, and I don't know why they haven't. Let's look further into it. Maybe do a story on it. Have a chat with people. Get it going. That's the only way I can think of it. It's sad. It's sad that this has not happened. It's just a basic human right, essentially, that we should be, people have a right to water. Why has this not been happening? I remember it was, about 1988, that we went up to Faalwater with the, what was it called, World Vision. Do you remember World Vision? And they brought out, what was that actor's name? He came out here as well because he was working with an American actor. He was in The Deer Hunter. Gosh.
Oh, John Hurt. John Hurt?
No.
John Savage?
Savage, yes. Savage was here. And we went up there with him, and it was all about, they were raising money at the time to make sure that they would have water. There was just nothing.
Yeah.
They were having to walk for miles and miles. And it's still, the fact that it's still happening in South Africa, and that was in 1988, and people had started doing things about it. We need to, as a nation, come together and stop politicking and actually just say, what can we do to help?
No, absolutely. And on John Savage, he was in South Africa for so long that he became like an honorary South African. And when I was living in London, I went into this place in Chelsea the one day, like a brasserie restaurant, whatever, and he was sitting at the bar, and it was so funny because it was like so exciting. It was like, obviously we knew each other, but it was like bumping into an old South African friend again, like, how's it? And it's funny to think he's actually not South African.
No, I know,
and
he was
not
here a lot. Okay, so what else? There's one other story here about Mary Zulu.
Oh, Mary Zulu is just gives us so much hope of good people in South Africa. A German priest and a whole bunch of other South Africans working at his orphanage in Mandini, which is near to where I used to live. So KwaZulu-Natal.
Jenny used to live. It's northern KwaZulu-Natal coast. Okay. Yeah.
The Dolphin Coast. So Mary Zulu was abandoned as a baby, and this wonderful orphanage, this wonderful German priest took her in, and just noticed her little athleticism, got her into rugby. Her rugby then got her into a university because she got a scholarship, whatever it's called, a bursary, and she played this weekend in Madrid for the Springbok women. And they didn't win, but she's a winner. So beautiful, so lovely. And just talking about the Dolphin Coast, I don't know if you saw some wonderful footage of the really big pod of called either killer whales or orcas that came into Plettenberg Bay, but actually officially they're killer dolphins because they're the largest of the dolphins. Just doesn't sound the same.
A whale shark is not a whale either.
Yes. Whale just means very big. So whales themselves need a new name.
Okay, right. Okay, so I just want to go on to something entertaining. I see that you've got written down here my octopus teacher, and of course we did discuss it at the time when everything did that, and we loved everything about it except for the actual voice of the person who did it. But it was such a wonderful, heartwarming story. And I mean, we all sit there, nobody wanted to eat calamari anymore. And of course, calamari is not actually octopus.
No. However, the eating of octopus has become a big and bigger thing. And so right now,
somebody is talking about this tentacle going down the back of their throat and the little suckers getting stuck on their throat.
Oh no. So right now the very first commercial octopus farm is being proposed in the Canary Islands, which Avars, they citizen huge group. So they're doing a lot of publicity at the moment and basically, anti this commercial octopus farm. And they are using my octopus teacher as proof that, octopi are sentient creatures and are very smart and, that this is really cruel. Oof. Yeah, so for anybody who hasn't watched it yet, watch it, and you'll never, ever, ever eat octopus or calamari, which is something totally different ever again.
I eat calamari, but I don't eat octopus because when I had my 400-liter marine tank, I was always finding things that had been washed up and almost dying in the rock pools down at Jessa Point in the very northern KwaZulu-Natal coast.
Yeah.
And I put them into the tank, to get them to the stage where I could put them back into the ocean again. But I had 3 little baby. I mean, they were tiny. The smallest one was like about just over a centimeter big. And their names were Octavius, Augustus, and Julius. Unfortunately, Julius got depressed and decided to commit suicide by climbing up the tank.
Oh no. I once had a little crocodile, which was very cute. Very, very, very cute. And then a snake ate it. No, a snake ate it. Yeah.
Stay with dolphins because coming up next week on SA People, you have something about a dolphin whisperer.
Yes, a guy in Cape Town. He takes the most amazing videos and photos with like the backdrop of Table Mountain and dolphins. I mean, he should be the tourism person. Really stunning, and he has this sort of relationship. Nothing creepy.
No, not like North Mountain's teacher. No. We won't go there. Anyhow, that's pretty much all we have time for, unfortunately, this week. But of course, you can find out more about other stories that are making the headlines on sapeople.com by going along to the website or onto Facebook and going and have a look at sapeople.com for expats and South Africans. Saffers, we are the people. Right, Jenny, we'll catch up with you again next week. Take good care.
Thanks, Melanie. You too. Mwah.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Another production from Solid Gold Podcasts.